Hello Chelsea fans, welcome to the Chelsea Show, your number one home for everything Chelsea Football Club. Whether you've supported the Blues all your life or you're a new fan, this is the place for you. Get ready for daily Chelsea news, transfer updates, match previews, and deep tactical analysis that keeps you connected to Stamford Bridge every day. Let's dive into the story. Chelsea sack Enzo Maresca after Bournemouth draw and losses to Leeds and Atalanta. Chelsea Football Club has officially dismissed head coach Enzo Maresca after a painful sequence of disappointing results that have pushed the club into yet another moment of crisis. The decision, which had been looming for several weeks, was finalised shortly after Chelsea's frustrating draw with Bournemouth, followed by a damaging defeat to Leeds United and a humiliating loss to Atalanta in European competition. For many supporters, these matches symbolise the collapse of confidence in Maresca's tactical project, and for the board, they were the final evidence that the club needed a different direction. The atmosphere inside Stamford Bridge had grown increasingly tense. When Maresca was appointed at the start of the season, the club had high hopes that his possession-based, structured and methodical style, similar to what he implemented at Leicester City, would bring stability and identity to a young and talented squad. But the results never matched the plan. Chelsea struggled to create clear scoring chances, failed to maintain defensive solidity, and looked overwhelmed in crucial moments. The draw against Bournemouth was seen by the board as a red flag, a match Chelsea were expected to dominate but instead failed to control, offering very little creativity in attack and nearly conceding in the final minutes. The pressure intensified 3 days later when Chelsea fell 2-1 to Leeds United. The defeat was not only painful, but symbolic. Leeds, newly promoted and fighting for survival, outplayed Chelsea with intensity, aggression and pressing, qualities that Maresca had hoped to instill in his own players. Fans questioned the tactical choices, wondering why Chelsea seemed slow, predictable and disconnected. Reports began to surface that several senior players had lost faith in the system and no longer understood their roles on the pitch. However, it was the loss to Atalanta that sealed Maresca's fate. In a match that was supposed to show European progress, Chelsea collapsed tactically, losing 3-0 in a performance many supporters described as lifeless and shocking. Atalanta's fast transition game exposed Chelsea's midfield, their high defensive line was repeatedly punished, and the team looked mentally defeated long before the final whistle. The club's top officials, who were present at the match, reportedly left the stadium in silence. According to insiders, the decision to sack Maresca was taken that same evening, with formal procedures completed the next morning. Behind the scenes, frustration had been building for months. Maresca's philosophy, heavily dependent on structured build-up play, required discipline, patience, and tactical intelligence. Yet the young Chelsea squad struggled to adapt. Mistakes in dangerous areas became common. The team often lost the ball in their own half, and long spells of meaningless possession frustrated supporters who demanded more direct and aggressive football. Critics argued that the manager had failed to adjust his system to the strengths of his players, instead forcing them into a rigid style that left them exposed. The board had originally backed Maresca fully. They believed in his long-term vision and admired his commitment to creating a clear identity. But football is a results-driven business, and Chelsea's season was slipping away. The club had already dropped valuable points, fallen behind in the league standings, and risked losing European qualification altogether. As the pressure intensified from fans, pundits, and stakeholders, the board felt they had no choice but to act. Chelsea released an official statement thanking Maresca for his work and professionalism, but the message made it clear that performance expectations had not been met. Inside the dressing room, the reaction was mixed. Some players reportedly felt relieved, believing the team needed a more flexible coach capable of adapting to their strengths. Others were disappointed, acknowledging that Maresca's ideas were good, but needed more time. Young players like Cole Palmer, Carney Chukwuemeka, and Levi Colwill were said to have respected Maresca deeply, valuing the clarity he brought to training sessions. But even they struggled with the lack of results. Fans across social media were divided. Some argued that Maresca deserved more time, pointing to the instability Chelsea managers face and the difficulty of building a new project with so many young players. Others insisted the decision came too late, claiming the season had already suffered irreversible damage. Supporters at Stamford Bridge had recently started chanting demands for change, and the atmosphere during home matches was filled with tension and dissatisfaction. Chelsea's leadership is now under intense scrutiny. The rapid turnover of managers in recent years has raised major concerns about long-term planning at the club. After the sacking of Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter, Frank Lampard as an interim, Mauricio Pochettino, and now Enzo Maresca, many fans are asking whether the problem lies not in coaching, but in the hierarchy itself. The owners have invested heavily in young talent, but constant system changes have left the squad confused and inconsistent. Attention has now shifted to who will replace Maresca. The club is expected to appoint an interim coach immediately while beginning the search for a long-term solution. Early reports suggest Chelsea may target a more experienced manager, someone capable of imposing authority, handling pressure, and guiding a young squad through complex phases of development. Names such as Hansi Flick, Zinedine Zidane, Roberto De Zerbi, and even Jose Mourinho have been mentioned in the media, though the club is keeping its process confidential. In the meantime, training at Cobham continues under the supervision of assistant coaches, while the board works urgently to stabilise the situation. The players are said to be shaken, but determined to fight for the remainder of the season. Senior figures inside the dressing room are urging teammates to stay united and focused, emphasising that the club cannot afford more setbacks. For Enzo Maresca, this marks a painful end to what he had hoped would be his breakthrough project at the top level. Despite his success in the Championship with Leicester, adapting his style to Premier League demands proved more difficult than expected. However, many analysts believe he will bounce back, as his tactical understanding and methodical approach are still highly valued in modern football. As the dust settles, Chelsea face yet another rebuilding phase, a familiar scenario for fans in recent years. Whether this managerial change will finally bring stability or lead to further chaos remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that the club cannot afford more failures. With ambitions to return to the top of English and European football, Chelsea must now choose a coach capable not only of winning matches, but also of building a sustainable and effective identity. The story of Chelsea under Enzo Maresca ends here, with frustration, disappointment, and unfulfilled potential. But for the players, staff, and supporters, a new chapter begins, one filled with uncertainty, hope, and the urgent need for change. As Stamford Bridge waits for the announcement of the next manager, one thing is certain: the standards at Chelsea remain high, and the pressure to succeed has never been stronger.